In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.
Hi, welcome to Hungama celebration of the 50 Game Changers for 2023. Over this season, you will get to know women who are chalking their own path and paving the way for the multitudes to follow in the field of entertainment across music, video and gaming. I'm Raunaq Roy from Hungama, and it is my pleasure to welcome the game changer Tanushree Bansal, the designer who brings a whole lot of science, data and fun to some of the biggest games there are. She's starting a new stint as senior game designer at Scopely, the game studios behind some of the most massive games, including Monopoly Go, some of the Looney Tunes games. And so, we're delighted to have her represent all of us at one of the big gaming houses. Welcome, Tanushree, and thank you for taking the female gaze to the maximum.
Hello, I'm super excited to be here.
Okay, I think super excited is exactly how we were feeling when we were going through this. I have to tell you, the wonderful that you're working with products that are completely, deeply penetrated into all of our lives, psyches from board games when we were growing up all the way to now, and making one of the few seamless transitions, right? I know this is a new stint for you, but I thank you for taking the time to share the knowledge and shorten the learning curve. Okay. Tanushree, tell me a little bit about getting here, because I'm sure getting here wasn't a walk in the park either. So getting in, getting accepted, and then getting ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for my journey as a game designer, I think I grew up playing games. I love playing games always. My family has always been super into games. Similar to what you said, we also grew up playing board games. Many friendships and families were destroyed over games of Monopoly and Ludo. Similar experiences. I've always been interested in games and art and technology. So I decided to study game design. I got a master's in game design. And my first job was at Simple, where we made Super Krishna Crush. Super, super happy to have that as a learning experience for me. It is one of IGDC's Studio Game of the Year winners.
Yes.
Met some really great people there. One of my most revered mentors, friends, seniors I met there. Then, of course, I switched over to Bombay Play, where again, I made super cool games that I'm so happy to be a part of, like Card Battle and Daily Word Puzzle. People at Bombay Play as well, like Oliver Jones, huge inspiration, super cool guy. And now I'm currently working at Looney Tunes, which is also a childhood dream coming true, because I think most kids, I grew up watching Looney Tunes, and now getting a chance to work on the same IP is crazy.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, person's gotta hate where you're at right now. It is you're making games for a living. You're working with Looney Tunes. I mean, really the maverick of all the cartoons. So I'm sure that you get a lot of envy from a lot of your friends. But tell me, I know that you went back and did your one of your, you did a little bit of work experience and then went back to college, if I'm not mistaken, from what I recall.
Yeah. So I had a little internship back in my hometown where I was working on a prototype for a game for kids. And after that, I went off to do my master's in the UK. And yeah.
Okay. Now tell me, for someone who's, inspired to pursue a game or a career in gaming, especially on the design side, what are inherent traits that you think you have that made the transition possible? Because there is a lot of skill as well as a lot of instinct that goes into this part of game development, which is design.
Of course. The first thing that comes to my mind is you have to have really thick skin, because I am not kidding you, 90% of my job is to get rejected. Because you put out 10 ideas, 9 of them will get rejected and the last one will need a lot of work. So as a designer, one of the hard lessons that you have to learn is okay, you can't take things personally. You have to have really thick skin. You have to be really okay with rejection. Constructive criticism is really important. Sometimes you have to look behind the words and look into like what people really mean. Game design is, of course, like really creative, but like a 2-minute idea takes 20 days, 30 days, 2 years to build. So game development is like a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours as well. So like stuff like that, you really have to, like, nobody prepares you for that. You have to learn on the job.
That's right. You mentioned long hours. So I'm actually going to delve into gaming companies are not, they're not always the most diverse. I know they're trying. Or inclusive. Work culture can also be taxing because it is long hours, and sometimes the data and the metrics are being tracked, and so it can also become, I don't want to say toxic, but difficult to work. Have you experienced these challenges? Do you feel that they've been amplified because of being a woman in a largely male industry?
Ooh, good question. So in my experience, like my personal experience, the game dev industry has been really nice to me. So all the people I've encountered or the people I've met have been really friendly and supportive. So opportunistically, I've not had any issues that I know of where I didn't get a job or something because I was a woman. But I did have backhanded comments and stuff like that happen to me, which really impacted me as a person. So one of the things I can think of is back when I was in college, I was a little tiny 18-year-old Tanu, and one of my first projects was one of my college projects was like a team project. And while I was in a team with all guys, and one of the people said to me, like when I was asking for hey, what should I contribute to? What can I work on? One of the guys just went hey, this is not a job for little girls, and little girls should just sit. And he gave me a little headband. And
ouch.
Yeah, it's really horrible to hear, right? But at 18 years old, I didn't have a lot of self-confidence to stand up to that, right? And that project inevitably ended up failing really bad. And what that did for me is that it started really negative behaviors in myself. So I started to be more stubborn. When I was to be more distrusting of people, and I would take on more work and more roles to myself, because if I'm doing the work, I cannot disappoint myself, right?
Right.
So I had this really bad arc with giving up control on projects, and eventually, over the years, my friends have really helped me get out of it, and of course I don't do that anymore, and I'm way more mindful of my negative behaviors, right? So opportunistically, not a problem, right? But when you say comments like that, it does affect people internally a little bit, and it does take time to undo the damage.
Yeah, really. The fact that so many years later, these are still things that you need to consciously be mindful of. And I don't think a lot of the times that comment, I'm sure the person who made the comment didn't think about it a day later.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. So tell me, how did you earn your chops? Because, Tanushree Bansal today is exciting. She's working on coveted games. Where do you think you kind of made that leap into now talent of excellence?
So actually game design for me was love at first sight. So I was not the kind of person who was really good at school or sports or anything. But when I started studying game design, it was a very natural fit. Everything just made sense to me. I didn't have to think twice. I don't know exactly, but I think I have, because of my childhood or some inherent trait, it's always been a really natural fit. And every time I've studied anything about game design or worked on any games, it just makes so much logical sense to me. It's like puzzle pieces just fitting together. So game design, I don't know if I wasn't a game designer, I don't know what I would have done, because it really is the ultimate thing for me.
You're very lucky like that. It's lovely to be in a place to say not only is this is what I do, this is all I do, this is all I can.
Yeah.
I think
scary thought as well.
No, but I mean, you've obviously not only got passion for it, but you've also got the right set of skills. Game design is complicated, and it's both technical as well as creative. You're trying to make sure, you're also trying to look into behavioral psychology of the user, how to also keep monetization and funneling more people into that in mind. So how do you navigate between the artistic integrity and the commercial success parameters of gaming when you're designing the experience and the rewards?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So one of the harsh realities of games is that, like, as an artist, as a designer, I want games to be free. I want games to be enjoyable. I want games to be fun, of course, right? But games are also a business. So you have to maintain the balance where it should be commercially viable to be called successful, but I also want it to be fun. If it was up to me, everything would be free. That's not good for anybody, right?
Right. For the industry as a whole, because I mean, if there's no commercial angle, you won't have so many players.
Yeah. So I'm lucky to have had really good mentors and really good seniors who I got advice from. And they really helped me navigate and rationalize these issues. I feel like in the beginning, I was very anti-money, anti-capitalist, so to say. But then eventually, you start to look at the other side. If people explain it to you well enough, if you put yourself in that perspective, if you see games as more than fun, if you see it more like a business, if you see something that grows and lives, then you start to see the other side, and then you can rationalize these things better. So for me, it's still a learning journey. I'm sure as it's the same for most designers, but eventually, the longer you work, you start to rationalize these issues. Okay, this part I want fun, but at these points, I want the users to feel a challenge. And when they feel a challenge, they should monetize, something like that.
Right. Okay, so tell me now, as a designer, what's the most exciting feature that you've come up with? It could be I know that in Ludo King, Double Undo was one of those aha moments. So what's a feature that you came up with or you incorporated into one of the games that you were really excited about and proud of?
Ooh, I'm sorry, this is going to be really nerdy, but back in Bombay Play, I really enjoyed working on Card Wars.
Right.
Mostly because I had such an amazing team. I had really cool people that I could rely on. And I think we were a really small team also, maybe 5-6 people. But all of us were so motivated that each and every task that we were working on was just so groundbreaking. One of the things that I remember working on was matchmaking, which is, I'm sorry if it's too technical, but it's basically how two players connect in a match.
Right.
So if you play an online game of Monopoly or online game of Ludo, who would you match with, right? And you would be surprised to know that the way people get matched on games is the same way people get matched on Tinder. It's a similar system. It's true.
That's fantastic. Maybe the next time they're going to find their soulmate on one of the games.
You know what? That has happened to me. So one of the couples I know, they came to me and they were like, hey, we bonded over and started dating over Card Party, which is a game made by Bombay Play itself. So that has happened. So yeah,
that's incredible. I have to say that's a little surreal, but also weirdly gratifying.
Yeah, they're married now, so it's interesting.
All right. So to all the gamers out there, if you haven't found your soulmate yet, Tanushree has a suggestion. There is also, very often, especially in entertainment areas, if you take sort of the talent side off, there is a bit of imposter syndrome, I think, that sets in. How do you quieten that voice?
That's a really good point. And this was a very recent example for me as well, because I just switched companies a while ago, and when I got that senior game designer designation, I like turned to my roommate and was like, hey, I'm getting some really bad imposter syndrome. And the way I kind of deal with it is I try to just nerd out and study. I feel like the more prepared I feel, the more the imposter syndrome dies. I know it seems kind of obvious, but if I, let's say, had imposter syndrome about being good enough to design Looney Tunes, right? So I would play the game like for 12 hours a day. That's exaggeration. I would read everything I can, join the Discords, join the community, work on the little exercises myself, deconstruct the game, try to get more familiar with the situation. It always also helps to talk to a friend within the company. So if you have somebody in the company who you are kind of free and open with and who won't judge you for asking stupid questions, right, that's also really good. Like one of my best friends, Manvi, from Bombay Play, was just a solid rock for me because I used to go to her and ask her the most stupidest question, and having people like that really helps.
Okay. Tanushree, tell me, now you are reaching the senior levels in your profession. One aspect obviously is constantly learning, but there's also the aspect of networking and building profile. That's something that I see a lot of young professionals, especially women, or predominantly women, not necessarily taking up as seriously. They don't take up, say, speaking assignments or being part of conferences where they're not just participating or attending, but actually sort of getting on the dais and sharing what they know, and there is so much to share. How do you stay connected? Have you started to put yourself out there, make it a little more public? Because as a role model, you inspire the generation that comes after, right?
True. So the way I network is very different. Like I am a super introverted person, and like I hate being public, but the way I network is I generally try to help out people I know and help out people through people. So if I heard from a friend that somebody is looking for a job, or somebody in their connection needs help or advice or anything, I am more about that personal connection where I make friends, and like friends of friends are my friends, kind of like that thing. There are, of course, a lot of game dev communities as well, like the Game Dev India community on Discord, which is like a super good way to connect to people. And I've had people come to me through that platform and ask for help and advice, and I'm happy to help. But yeah, I personally am more of a one-to-one person. I'm not a very post about myself person.
Okay, but do you think you would be in a place where you're ready to sort of also be taking on speaking assignments? Because I've spoken to a couple of other game designers doing really well, working in AAA companies. And it takes a while before they think, why not me? For so long, you just think, why me? Should I? What'll I say?
I do think like women should have like more opportunities to speak up. And if I like personally get an opportunity to speak up, I would absolutely love to. Like, let's say being a panelist at IGDC and like stuff like that is very accessible. Regarding like why people don't do it, I think might be like bringing back to what you said earlier. Maybe it's like insecurity. Maybe it's like lack of encouragement. I feel like
because it's incredible, right? See where you're at.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think at IGDC, I think at many forums where you can talk about skills, because let's face it, there are going to be, anywhere between 200,000 and 500,000 jobs created in the gaming sector over the next 5 years, because so much of trend spotting is also happening out of the gaming industry. So much of the Web3 experience is, being fed out of the gaming industry. So there will be a lot of jobs that become available. And I think it will be fantastic if more women are talking about it, more women are being seen as role models. So more young women are joining the industry as well. So tell me, what are you currently working on? I know you have a new job. It's only been a week. But tell us what is inspiring you right now.
So I'm currently working on Looney Tunes as a character and combat designer, which is super fun. I've, of course, done a little bit of character and combat design at Card Battle at Bombay Play. So what's currently inspiring me is how successful this game is and how close Looney Tunes is to everybody else. And my mental state right now is, hey, there are so many talented people out here, and I just want to learn everything I can from other people. And which is like, honestly, like a lot of people are shocked by that, because they're like, hey, you're a senior, you're not supposed to work anymore. You're supposed to delegate. But that's really restrictive. I feel like even though like I'm becoming like more and more senior and more experienced, there are more and more things I realize that I don't know.
Oh my God. And you never stop learning.
You never stop learning. And I see like so many people who have made this successful game and super cool game. I see what they've done, and I can like, happily accept that, hey, like, this is really cool what you've built. I want to learn this. And not only that, I want to make this better. And I want to figure out ways in which, like, with my experience, I can make this better.
Okay. So, Tanushree, penultimate question. One is, it's really more of a message. It's changing the stigma around gaming. When we were growing up, you spent too many hours on a game and you were asked to stop. I think there is a slight shift that's happening. But what is the one lasting thought that you have for the youngsters in charge of their own destiny right now, who are starting out in gaming, or maybe just thinking about it, but, currently still dealing with the get off the game and go to your books?
Ooh, I would say if you really enjoy gaming, that's it's a great thing. But at some level, like if you're still like studying or if you have like other responsibilities, it's still a form of entertainment. Don't let the escapism be your only haven, right? Like if you are like gaming for like really long hours, have breaks, concentrate on other things, be a well-rounded person. For example, I wouldn't be here if I just constantly played games. I had to like go out and study whatever, math, science, history, whatever, because it will make you a well-rounded person, and becoming a well-rounded person even could help you become a game designer. So sometimes I read up on random facts on history, or I read up random facts on science, and that does click somewhere in my brain, somewhere in the future where it helps, right? So in any way, if you are like a person who's like really into games, there is like a world outside games as well, which will tie back into games. I hope that made sense. That sounded
that
like
did. No, it was the voice of reason. So I think that's always lovely. But since you brought it up, what do you study to become a game designer? Because I think everybody knows what you study to become a game developer. You come in through the programming side. What do you study to become a game designer? Like in school, do you need to have the science subjects? Is that something you can do with humanities in your mark sheet?
So the great thing about games is you can be anything and become a game designer. I have a friend who was a chef and he became a game designer. I have a friend who was studying engineering and then became a game designer. I had a friend who was a teacher and then became a game designer. So you can become a game designer if you first like enjoy games, you understand games. Like playing games and understanding games are two very different things. Like if you're good at playing, that does not make you a good game maker. That's an entirely different set of skills. So like for becoming a game designer, I would say if you have a college course or a college degree in like games or animations or arts, that helps. But even if you don't, if you have like a sound mind with good logic and reasoning skills, good aesthetic knowledge on like UI, UX, a little bit of like how mechanics work, how programming works. If you are like a well-rounded person who is like interested in systems and technology and stuff like that, you can become a game designer.
All right. Well, Tanushree, thank you for joining us today. It was lovely talking to you and learning from you. Congratulations, and we look forward to the many mountains you will still climb.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. This is Raunaq from Hungama. Thank you for tuning in, and stay with us as we meet more women in entertainment who aren't just playing the game, they're changing it.
In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.